Happy New Year's, everyone, from Fireside Football. I'm Kendall Caps.
And I'm Andrew Williams.
Well, here we are. It's Week 17 of the NFL. New Year is about to begin, and we're about to end the regular season in the NFL.
Absolutely. I'm excited. You got a lot of playoff positioning battles going on in the last week of the regular season here. Who's in? Who's out? What are your final picks?
Well, and unlike last year where we had so many teams fighting for so few spots and having a chance, this year we primarily know most of the playoff teams. We just don't know where they're going to be playing and what seed they are. So how about we start with a team that needs a lot of help to get into the playoffs this year, Tampa Bay. They're going on the road to New Orleans. What do you think?
Well, like you said, Tampa Bay needs a lot of help here. They need the Giants to lose, they need the Packers to lose, and they need to beat a New Orleans team who is playing for that #1 seed still, or for a chance at it. I like New Orleans here. I like the game they played earlier this year. New Orleans took it to them. Drew Brees played well. And I think New Orleans' running game is improving week by week. They've got Pierre Thomas back. They've got Reggie Bush back. It looks like Chris Ivory may be coming back. And now they're going against this Tampa run defense that's 28th in the NFL in New Orleans. I'm taking New Orleans.
Yeah, it's really hard not to like New Orleans here, given their previous matchup. They're getting healthy. And also, Tampa Bay struggles getting to the quarterback. They are 30th in the NFL in sacks with only 23 sacks this season. And it's going to be really difficult if you don't put pressure on Drew Brees. He's going to find ways to beat you through the air, and we know they're going to run the ball at least decently in this game. I expect them to take it and run away and end the Tampa Bay season. But kudos to Tampa Bay after what they did with how bad they were last year. Freeman, what they've done in 1 year, and they do have a bright future ahead of them, I think.
Well, and how about another team now struggling to get into the playoffs, wanting some help? The New York Giants playing against the Redskins in Washington, a team really with nothing to play for. You think the Giants could come out here and take care of business to give themselves a shot at making the playoffs?
Well, it's really difficult. With the loss they sustained 2 weeks ago against Philadelphia and that humongous collapse, and then they get blown out last week in Green Bay. Now they have to go on the road again to Washington, a team that has a horrible defense, a team that has pretty much given up on their coach, and they're starting Rex Grossman when McNabb is sitting on the bench. There's a lot of turmoil, and it's been a very tumultuous season for Washington, but it is a rivalry game. So I don't expect the Giants to come out and just roll over them because they're a better football team. I expect Washington to be able to expose them through the air. It should be a pretty high-scoring game, but in the end, I think the Giants find a way to win the game, putting the pressure on the Packers.
See, I'm going to go even a little more strongly than that. I think the Giants could roll in this game. I think if there's a team that I think might pack it up and not show up the last week of the season, it could be this year's Washington Redskins. With all the problems they've had, I think these guys want to get home and ride the jet ski.
Yeah, it very well might be. All right, well, how about a team that controls their own destiny, the Green Bay Packers, coming off a really big win against the Giants. They're really starting to get that steam heading toward the playoffs again. They've played really well the last couple weeks, going back to that game in New England. And they got their quarterback back in Aaron Rodgers. What do you think this week at home against Chicago?
Well, this is my favorite game of the week by far. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take Chicago here. Chicago's been playing really well. They're running the ball well, which is where I think they can take some control of this game. And they've got that confidence from that first game where they kind of snuck out a win at home against the Packers. And now they've come in and they are playing for that chance at the #1 seed. And if not, they've got that first-round bye ready to go. I think the Chicago team is going to come in and surprise Green Bay.
You know, I expect it to be a great game. Neither team am I expecting to run the ball real well. Green Bay's run defense with the injuries hasn't been as good as in the past couple of years, but I do expect them at home to show up and shore up that run defense. This game, I don't think Matt Forte is going to go off, so to speak, but neither is Brandon Jackson. This game is going to be won through the air. I'll take Aaron Rodgers over Jay Cutler in the final game with this much on the line. I like Green Bay at home to get into the playoffs.
Well, how about Indianapolis? The Colts trying to lock up the playoff spot for, I think, the 9th consecutive year, playing at home against the Titans, who look like they may have mailed it in the last 4 weeks. Do you think Tennessee shows up?
You know, it's hard to like Tennessee at all in this game. It's hard to like Tennessee at all over the last 2 months, really. Since Randy Moss got there, they haven't played well. They haven't moved the ball on offense. Chris Johnson, after his 2,000-yard season last year, isn't running the ball nearly as effectively this year. And they're going to have a hard time. Indianapolis knows what this game means. They win, they get in. They could possibly get the 3 seed. I mean, there's a lot on the line for Indianapolis and not much for Tennessee. I see a flaw in this one.
I agree. I think Indy's going to take it to him. Barring a huge day from Chris Johnson where he meets his 2,500-yard mark that he predicted at the beginning of the season.
By getting maybe 1,000 yards.
1,000 yards in Week 17 can do it for him. No, I think Indy's going to take this. They've won 3 in a row. I think this could be a dangerous team come playoff time. Watch out for the Colts on a roll going into the playoffs with a home game.
Well, how about Jacksonville, a team that needs Indianapolis to lose, and they need to win this weekend to be able to win the AFC South and make the playoffs. They're going on the road to Houston, a team that has lost a few games in a row. They're not playing well right now, especially on defense. They haven't played well all year. I mean, really, do they have enough?
It's an interesting game because you've got Jacksonville who really is still in the playoff hunt. But you've got David Garrard out, you've got MJD out for the second consecutive week, and you start to wonder, do they even have the manpower to make a push in this game? And this Houston team doesn't quit very often. I know that they've been down, they've lost more games this year than they should have, but they're playing for their coach's job. They're going to go out there with pride. This is a rivalry game, and I think that the Texans are going to take this at home just to try and show their fans some support for coming out after the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think Houston's going to find a way to win. Without Garrard and MJD, it's going to make it really difficult for them to be able to move the ball. Now, Tim Tebow, a rookie last week, was able to throw for 300 on this Houston defense. And the Houston defense is going to give up its yards, even without the weapons that Jacksonville doesn't have. They're still going to move the ball, but Houston, Jacoby Jones, the last few weeks, he's really been stepping up. Now that Andre Johnson's been hurting with that ankle and he's out this week, I expect Jacoby Jones to have another really big game this week, and they find a way to win this game and end the Jaguar season once and for all.
All right, well, for our last game, we've got kind of a Christmas present. Then it's not the present you wanted. It's a playoff game in Week 17. Winner goes, loser goes home, but then their records are 7-9 and 6-8. You got St. Louis playing the Seahawks. Where do you go here?
You know, this is the battle of the uglies. It's hard to like either team here. No matter who wins this game, they're going to get a home playoff game, and they're going to get smashed by New Orleans more than likely in the first game of the playoffs. But they still do win their division. It's a big game, winner take all. Winner goes to the playoffs. And I like St. Louis. Seattle last almost all season, really. They just haven't looked good. They have been inconsistent at home, and with Hasselbeck still questionable, they don't know if Whitehurst is going to start. And Forsett and Lynch have not done what they thought they would do when they brought Lynch in as a two-man backfield. I think St. Louis finds a way to win it.
Yeah, I think St. Louis will take this. Seattle's been getting murdered week in and week out. The last 3 weeks they've been blown out of the park, and really the last 10 weeks, if they haven't played Carolina or Arizona, they've been losing games by 20 points every week. And St. Louis, I like what Sam Bradford's doing right now. I really think if you started the season over again today, St. Louis might be a 10-win team instead of an 8-win team.
Yeah, it's possible. They're a decent squad, and they're decent on both sides of the ball. They stop the run. They can run the ball pretty well. And Sam Bradford in their first matchup threw for almost 300 yards and a couple of scores against that horrible Seattle secondary. I think he might do the same thing here on the road and march their way into the playoffs.
And I think Steven Jackson also put up like 130 all-purpose yards in that first game. You can look for him to go off in this one as well.
Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. He made up a little ground last week by going 5-1.
I have a little karma on the new set.
Yes, that very well might be it. And hopefully you'll look for us in the playoff edition of Fireside Football. For Andrew Williamson, I'm Kendall Capps. Hope to see you again next week.